Misfortune already banned away.
Yes, thankfully, Soraka take it off the board. It seems to be a Brazilian-only trend, though. They're the only ones that don't want to be against the Soraka, whereas the Misfortune, that's taken away from BRTT, who had a fantastic game on that champion. So good to see that removed off the board.
Certainly is, as Malphite gets taken away as well. Don't forget that BRTT has also played Caitlyn already, so he's on the 5.22 hype train. We asked him about it in an interview. He said, yeah, I'll play whatever my team wants me to play. I'm very comfortable. So Jack's going to be the ban. Dr. Mundo going to follow there. So some tankier champions starting to get banned out as the Oceanic team look for their final ban.
Yeah, the OPL team can play that Mundo. They just chose not to at an earlier date and did lose to it. So wouldn't have been surprised if they banned it themselves. Brazil taking the safe option, even though their first pick, and banning that champion away. So definitely have another thing in the forefront of their mind. Maybe even forcing a Caitlyn ban.
Perhaps. I mean, they've seen it from BRTT already. Would not be the worst takeaway, but it is going to be the Bard taken off a loop. He will have to play a different champion for the first time in this tournament.
He was a ridiculous Bard. What more can you say? He was so on point with that champion, picking up kills and throwing the ultimates that connected with absolutely every single person he was aiming for. So many options, though. That's the problem here. They do have to have a target ban on Misfortune and Bard, and even the Jax to an extent. Anything they could want right now is available.
We've seen a lot of early pick junglers. Lep gonna hover that Elise. We'll see if Revolta wants to play it one more time. You can see them conversing on your screen there, talking to each other. We're gonna do this. You're gonna crush him again with Elise? Probably. His Elise looked absolutely excellent so far in the tournament.
Showed success against the Lee Sin of Carbon as well in a prior game earlier today where the OPL side did go down. So Elise actually a very good first pick. Of course, keep in mind that you are leaving the likes of the Caitlyn available, the Lucian, even the Vayne to an extent to be picked. I don't think the AD carry will be a big priority. And now that Malphite's taken off the board, the OPL's first pick is a little bit sparing. They may have to go for the jungler and support themselves.
Maybe. We've seen Arise, I guess, as well as another early flex pick that Ryu and Tutus can both play in their respective lanes. So plenty of options open for Oceania, but their drafting has certainly been a sore point both today and yesterday. So we'll see if they've tightened that up at all. Like you mentioned, Brazil going with a very straightforward first pick, but they'll keep it simple. Rise there probably for Ryu, and of course Rek'Sai as well for Carbon.
You'd say probably for Ryu. We do know that Chuchus has a very capable Rise in his hands. We'll see what the Brazilian side do actually want to play into it, which will affect what role they want to place that in. So it's actually one of the better flex picks out of every champion in the game at the moment because it is so strong in both roles.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I believe Ryu is such a well-known Rise player that Chuchus started playing it, practice for the event, just in case he had to as well. So really cool stuff there from the Oceanic side as Brazil now look for their second and third picks in Revolta, hovering Cassiopeia, a possible pick. We need to see, of course, a win there from Ceres just in our last game. So potential, I'm going to go with probably not here in this one.
I actually like it. I do think that the Cassiopeia is very good into the Rise. Of course, you would then be blind picking it, so not necessarily ideal. And speaking of flex picks, we've seen this from the Turkish side.
We have. Nara's been playing that mid Aurelia, but it's going to go Aurelia Alistar now for the Brazilian side. So everyone keeping the first few picks open. Oceania, though, will have to lock in third and fourth here.
Yeah, definitely an interesting draft decision has to be made here from this OPL side. They are last pick, so they're probably going to flex that middle / top lane and get a counter pick in one of their two solos, which means they do have to go for their bottom lane here. The Kalista is definitely an option. I would prefer to see Radar on someone like Vayne more so, though.
Kench is open as well, don't forget. So it's definitely another champion we've seen banned, but getting through a little bit more is going to be Kalista Thresh, so feels very comfortable for the Oceanic bottom lane.
Actually this entire draft is just the epitome of comfort for the OPL side. We thought last game was comfortable. This is even more so. So it's nice to see them reverting to something that works for them. The question is, last time they went to comfort, it didn't actually work for them.
No, it feels like this does fit a bit better into the metagame that we have been seeing in the Wildcard tournament on this particular patch, but we'll see exactly when they round out their composition how that's going to work, as right now BRTT actually hovering Graves, so potential pick from him. Again, we've seen two different AD carries already. One of them has been banned here in the Misfortune, so he's got plenty open to him.
It wouldn't be very easy to play Graves into Kalista.
No.
I wouldn't advise it. Of course, BRTT, a fantastic AD carry player, seems to be so on point with the new patch champions. Wouldn't be a big, overwhelming surprise if he did, though I would prefer the ice skating champion of Lucian.
Yeah, Lucian's look pretty good on this patch. And we are going to have a Lucian Twisted Fate actually going to round things out, which is a relatively safe blind pick champion, although Choo-Choo's, especially on more of his traditional assassins, might quite like this matchup. We'll see what he wants to go for, assuming that Rise is top lane.
Yeah, the Rise, assumedly top lane, it is into an Aurelia, which isn't all that great, but you're ranged into a melee champion, you have a slight advantage. Very difficult to work around the stun, though, that they would have on LEP, and he is an Aurelia player.
Yep, certainly
basically
is.
wicked, as he has said himself. So this team comp that we're looking at of the Brazilian team, mind you, is very, very good at skirmishing and killing anybody. The Twisted Fate can go in other lanes. Elise, very good in a 2v2 with any of the targets that are on her team. They've got targeted stuns. Certainly
seen Kami's Twisted Fate do work in Worlds, I believe, as well. So plenty of history there for the team as Brazil have finished their lineup. 12 seconds left now for Oceania to decide how do they want to round up this team comp. And honestly, where's this Rise going? They may leave it for Ryu in the top lane. It was one of his big picks when he started doing very well in the Oceania. Is going to be top because Choo-Choo's is going on Kassadin.
Yeah, Kassadin into the Twisted Fate. It does nullify a lot of the Twisted Fate's damage that can come out of Kami early. It actually possesses a lot of pressure that you can put into the lane eventually, especially at level 6. The hard part is, if Choo-Choo's commits to that Ignite that he's currently hovering, he won't be able to keep up with the roam that Kami can put down.
That's true. I almost expect a teleport here for double TP. Kami actually currently has his selected as well. Even though it did get a couple nerfs here, it's still, for a lot of these laning style mages that want to ramp up, and especially someone like Twisted Fate, seems to be, you know, still a thing that champions want to go to.
Yeah, added a bit of extra troll as well. You can go to minions instead of turrets just to really annoy people. Of course, a little bit dangerous in particular lanes. The Kassadin, not so much. So you're actually quite capable of going for a teleport on Twisted Fate. You don't generally win your lane too hard. In fact, you sit back most of the time and just last hit. Find advantages through your passive, which gives you that extra gold. Get your items, come back into the lane with teleport, and then use your ultimate elsewhere because you have that advantage.
Yep. Certainly will. And Kami, if you can start running a Mark and Snowball, some of these lanes, let alone all of them potentially, could cause a lot of problems for Oceania. We've already seen that some of their cohesion's been tested quite thoroughly here, and this team comp, especially against this team, is certainly going to test them, Rusty.
That is exactly right. It's good to see Choo-Choo's on an assassin player as well now. He's gone to the Yasuo, he's now playing that Kassadin, so starting to come back to the old Choo-Choo style that we all know and love. We'll see how he goes into this Kami Twisted Fate though, and the rest of that side, which I have to say is very strong, especially once they hit that mid-game skirmish point.
Really is, and I think I agree on the comfort point. They've kind of reverted back, so it is comfortable, but it does, again, fit a bit better than some of the last team comps that had the Cogmore, but it was always going to be tough to play the Brazilian All-Star team. They're favorites in the tournament for a good reason, especially after undefeated day one, but let's let the players do the talking. They're onto the riff now for our fourth 5v5, I believe, of the day, as Brazil takes on Team Oceania, who are going to stay undefeated in Oceania, hoping that they don't stay defeated.
If ever there was a time to win a game, it would be right now, OPL. Please keep it together. But the Brazilian side, they do not look like slowing down. Kami in that middle lane is someone that I'm going to continue to touch on just because of how mechanically intensive he was, especially in that Azir game, destroying everyone in his sights.
Yep, and that's pretty much what the Brazilian team have been doing, especially early on, as we do see them kind of all fan out. Lep going to poke his head into that brush on the top side. Kami just keeping vision around the center of the map. Looking down quickly, see Choo-Choo's there on your screen. He's got a corrupting potion, so no crystalline flask anymore. Kind of fits the build there for Kassadin.
Yeah, interesting to see what mastery Choo-Choo's may have gone for here. He loves the thundering mastery.
Yeah, Thunderlords.
But going for the corrupting potion generally implies the Deathfire's touch, which gives you that extra damage over time, some scaling as well, and it's actually very good. It's like a better version of Flask, essentially, if you want to trade with people now for that mid lane Kassadin, as the regular Kassadin before this patch was always Flask anyway.
Yep, certainly was. Particularly against Twisted Fate, as we will see Carbon start out on the Gromp. Bit of help there from Raider, and Egypt absolutely massacres the poor jungle camp. But you can see pretty much mirrored there on the bottom, except starting on the bottom side instead. Revolta going over to the Krugs. Choo-Choo's and Kami will face off here in the mid lane. You can see Choo-Choo's trying to stay as far forward as he can. Kami just going to do Twisted Fate things. Clear the wave, throw cards, eventually hit 6 and go gank somebody.
Exactly right. That's what he's going to be looking to do. It's more so, the onus is on the junglers right now to try and make things happen, as this bottom lane is just going to be perpetually aggressive, because they are level 1.
Yeah, this is a great thing to point out, I guess, is that Kalista Thresh, not only comfort picks here for Radiant and Egypt, but a very dominant lane for a long time this year were these two champions.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, the pressure comes back. We mentioned level 1. Once level 2 connects, Loop does have some presence in that lane with the headbutt and the pulverize, especially with his flash up ready to go. The fact that this OPL side are pushing in, it's not remaining neutral, is the massive danger.
They're going straight in as well. You could see how aggressive Egypt moved forward as soon as they hit that level 2. Shouldn't be too far off here for the CB LoL side, as they are going to get level 2 relatively quickly. Alistar, seen a lot of Alistar in this tournament, actually. Just feels like he's relatively safe, but definitely more about the roaming and the team fighting.
Well, this is one of those things with the new patch. The Malphite in that top lane is just such a big pain in the bum because he is super tanky. Alistar is one of those champions that can be super tanky and stay in that support role. As Ryu.
Yeah, big gank here. Revolta eats the stun. Snare does land here, but this should be first blood. Good flash there from Ryu. Might just be enough to get away.
Almost
Carbon now going to turn around. Passive going to go in. Shield proc. First blood to Oceania. Carbon picks it up. Now Revolta going to look in. Gets himself knocked up as
God, he's alive.
looking for someone. Ryu gets stunned off the end. Carbon in trouble down the bottom. The Spiderling's going to take out the Rise, and Carbon, if that red buff ticks, Carbon's going to flash for it. They'll take it and he'll get the doubles.
The double kill right there for Revolta, and this is exactly what you do not want to happen when you're playing against the Brazilian side. He's the one who carries the game away and gets super fed in early game, and that is just accelerated even more so. Bot lane, they're going to have another trade as well.
Going straight in, exhaust down onto Rady. They want the 2v2 all in. They'll back away now as the heals do come out. But BRTT and Loop starting to fight back as well. So Revolta just gangsta mid lane, clean as you like. 3 kills in 4 minutes.
Kami not even having the flash, and Choo-Choo's dying with his available is a big mistake from this OPL side once again. This is not the way you want to start a game at all.
I feel like a few times in this tournament now, as we do have a pause, we've seen Carbon make a great play early on, and then perhaps extend a little bit too far and just overreach, or honestly, just be outmaneuvered by, in this case, a jungler and a mid laner. That's tough for Carbon.
Yeah, so that was actually great. Ryu had 4 out of the 5 stacks on his passive. He was ready to go and turn it back around the second Carbon got there. They did that as effectively as possible, but Kami had that teleport. It's something that we said was always going to be a big threat. Choo-Choo's opting into the Ignite for some power in lane. Backfires massively because not only do they get a double kill for Revolta, he then comes mid and gets another kill onto Choo-Choo's whilst Kami has no summoners available.
And that's impressive. And Revolta, we've talked about him being a good aggressive jungler. He likes to get in your face, gank the lanes, hurt the enemy jungler. Pretty much did all 3 of those just in the opening minutes of this game. So on Elise especially, a big champion for him. Revolta is on form already, and that's a scary thought for an Oceanic team that is desperate for a win at this point in the tournament. Yeah,
the pressure from here, from this exact moment, is only going to continue because Carbon, he's so far behind already. 3-0 Revolta. He's going to be invading constantly.
Yeah, certainly is, and he was going to do that already, to be fair. As we pop back into the game, Kami level 5 now. Going to take some of the assist gold. Hasn't spent it just yet. Going to push that wave in and now make his way back. Has to walk, of course. Doesn't have his TP. But he's going to get some good shopping in. Choo-Choo's you can see on the other side. Ryu Crystal and Sapphire Crystal. Carbon's in. Left now can be in trouble again. A great regank. Ryu going to force the flash out from earlier.
No summoners available one more time. Ryu did use that one, whereas Leb had his available. So this summoner advantage is just paying dividends for this CB LoL side. It's becoming ridiculous. And we were touching on the items, by the way, and how aggressive Revolta was going to be. Well, they're yellow boots.
Yep, very yellow. Boots of mobility for maximum lane ganking. And look, he's already back in the top lane. Lev goes for the stun. They want it. They'll land it. Revolta going to move back in. Huge damage. Revolta gets a 4th kill.
Revolta is quite literally revolting at the moment. That's just crazy talk. 4-0 at least. He always takes the kills. That's the one thing you'll note about this jungler. He ensures that he's the one that gets them. That burst was obscene, to be fair.
Choo-Choo's good flash. Loop with a nice wraparound gank. There's Kami's actually fishing for a stun. Gets a creep there instead. And you can see the pressure on the bottom lane start to fall away a bit. Already the Brazilians are up 4-1 in this game. And 1,000 gold.
Yeah. At this stage, 5 minutes in, with no towers even being threatened to be taken, standard laning, to have a lead of that much, they're still going.
Yeah, Carbon's back in and Kami 6. He's already dead. The Destiny doesn't even complete. Doesn't get an assist, to his credit. But it's going from bad to worse here in the top lane.
Take what you can, right? I mean, didn't get an assist on the Twisted Fate. Carbon, things could have been worse.
Revolta's still here, going again. Stun land. Chain there from the Cocoon. Ryu's dead. Lep gets the kill this time.
That's so
gross.
This is rough. Yeah, this is really the single roughest game that you'll ever have to endure if you are a fan of the OPL right now. 5-0. They've got a kill as well on Lep. Of all people, going monstrous, hitting stuns, staying at the right amount of health to actually connect with those stuns, allow Elise to hit the cocoons.
We're in again, by the way. Ejim and Rady now trying to get some back, but Loop and BRTT will just take their hits and run off. There is a CS lead here in the bottom side, so Radiant looking okay, about 10 CS ahead of BRTT on the Lucian, but it's going to need a lot more CS lead to make up for this current gold deficit.
And this is the problem with picking Ryze this early in a draft phase, is they can pick whatever they want into you. Aurelia is ridiculous at the moment. She can connect with the stuns, and they've already got the early pressure jungler of not only Revolta, but Revolta on a lease. And this is why it's actually horrible, because you have to go tier first. If you can pressure that lane, out 2v2 them with a champion, you just pick the top lane that'll win, you're going to be fine. And this is exactly what we've been seeing.
Yep, Carbon tried. He went top lane, got the first blood, and got that gank off. But Revolta just able to gank better on a champion like Elise. So Struggle Street certainly is the gold lead starting to creep up towards 2,000 gold. Revolta's bottom lane now has been spotted though, and will pull Radiant away with that Dark Passage as Ejim saves his AD carry.
Ejim and Radiant are doing what they can. That is one thing you can take from this. They've been doing well in this bottom lane, but all it takes is Revolta to be in the general area, and they have to respect that. And this is now going to snowball the bottom lane further if Revolta wants to focus that lane. He basically has free reign of the entirety of the map. He can go where he wants because they're all winning.
Yep, and Lep is going to get snared up here. Ryu certainly knows his way around Rides as a champion. We pop back into the mid lane here. You see Choo-Choo's doing fine. Slight CS lead. Got his catalyst, got the potion ready to go. But the difference that Kami can make in the early game on a champion like Twisted Fate with TP, Choo-Choo's chose to make this a farm lane, and he's kind of paying for it now.
He chose to make it a farm lane. He also chose to take Ignite into what he defined as a farm lane. If he went for the teleport, things may have been different earlier in the game. In saying that, he's doing well. Carbon stop.
He's at it again. Lep almost got the flash. Ryu going to flash in for the stun. And now Lep's going to get locked down. Kami will make it here, but that actually might be a mistake. Carbon wants the knock up, but can't get it. Good gold card.
Has flash.
Oh, Revolta's here! Finds Ryu! Stun lands back in onto it. Revolta always in the right place at the right time.
Keep in mind, Kami even has flash now. If he wanted to be over-aggressive, maybe push it in. But Revolta, you said it, he's got those boots of mobility. He's getting there exactly when his team requires him to, even beforehand, because he's just that damn fast at the moment. 7 and 2.
Mobility boots paying off. Yeah. As you've observed, he's even going Cinderhawk right now by the looks of things. So not going carry, knows his team kind of needs a bit more frontline. But just look at the banner next to his name. That man is worth so much gold if you can squash him.
He's certainly got his wings. He could be a pilot. That's one of the biggest Elises that I've ever seen at 9 minutes in the game. Like, the fact that he can build tank and still outdamage anyone on the map indicates how far ahead he is. In saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if he continues the tank trend with like a Dead Man's Plate next. And because he's so far ahead in levels as a jungler and just so far ahead in pressure on the map, his laners are now ahead, that he will still carry this game through 100%.
Yep, 7-2 now, looking for the camp again. They're going for the dive left. He's going to land the stun. Cocoon comes in, loops here as well. And this kill's going to go to Revolta once again.
Wouldn't be a gank without Revolta getting a kill. Even the Alistar is in this top lane right now. If ever there was a moment that someone could be tilted off the face of the earth, it's probably going to be this top lane for the OPL side.
And it's honestly a good player to pick on as well. I don't know, how the CBLOL side could know that, as we are going to have another gank. Choo-Choo's will riff walk his way out. Kami needs the stun. He needs to keep moving forward. No, it's not there. Going to land it back in. Huge CC chain, but it might not be enough. Carbon now coming in, and Choo-Choo's does get away.
The Cocoon actually missed because the headbutt pulverize knocked him just out of the range, but Carbon's not done.
He's going straight in, gets Kami as Loop pops his ulti. Ejim here with the hook. Now Radiant in as well. They've gone for the roam, and Loop's going to die.
That is the first proactive play that we have seen so far from this OPL team. They bring their bottom lane up. They make a pick off the back of a mistake from this Brazilian LoL side. They've had a chance of getting a kill onto Choo-Choo's. Instead, they overcommit, and now they're going for the turret.
Oh, Culling could be here. BRTT going to fend them off tower. Way too risky to take this early on. Oh, Revolta barely misses giving up all his gold as the hook goes a little short for Ejim. And they're going to go in for this. Kami's low on mana, but might not matter too much as the OPL side does have to leave the area.
So at this exact moment, even though Raider has a kill and a CS advantage, BRTT is stronger because he has BF Sword and 2 long swords. This puts him in a position to siege mid.
They baited left. He actually went straight in, and they've been there to catch him right here. He's going to get the kill now. Ryu's going to come down. Kami caught out in the room prison. Carbon going to try and lock him away, but Kami's dead as Raider gets a double Ejim. Healed up there just enough as Luke's going to try and dive back in. It's going to cost him his life though. Raider gets a triple.
The OPL side, they make up on a mistake, basically. What is Brazil thinking?
Such a clever bait. They know they want to dive the low health Kassadin, and now they might get the tower out of it as well. Very strong players, Oceania forced to adapt to this aggression.
They definitely adapted well. Raider picking up the kills of all people. When he buys next is going to be a monster. If there's anyone you look at from this Oceanic side now to carry this game, it is entirely on his shoulders. In saying that, the Brazilian side, yes, they do want to dive, and yes, they had an advantage to do so, but you don't dive that deep. They baited Lep to death for absolutely no reason and then proceeded to fight.
And I can't believe we've actually flipped things around. Oceania now almost 1,000 gold up after that little turnaround. I mean, did they kill Revolta? No, they didn't even get the shutdown gold.
The best part about this whole thing is that Brazil spent the whole time looking for kills. This is exactly what they're doing here. They're not sieging, they're trying to take down the Kassadin. Big mistake, because immediately Kami teleports for no reason to a minion under the turret, should have been cancelled and disengaged. They've got the Rise who locks him up. Loop didn't even have his ultimate. He's the next to follow. 3 kills for no reason for this OPL side. And the biggest factor, and the reason they have a gold lead at all, is because Brazil is only looking for kills.
Yep, and right now Raid is the one to pick a few up for himself. Runin's Hurricane, BF's all completed. BFTD's in trouble. They wait for the dash. Carbon gonna fly in the hook.
Oh.
Just short there as Carbon chases in, but he will not go too deep. Kami does have his ultimate. Instead, they may just give themselves the bottom turret.
Very, very close. But of course, forcing that flash away. This is the best part about this game right now is you've got a 6-0 Elise who is now starting to build tanky. She will drop off in strength, whereas the Kalista 4-0 has the Runans working towards assumedly the Infinity Edge, will not drop off in strength at all. Rise is scaling and Aurelia is scaling, but they got nothing from it in terms of advantages besides the kills. Lep got one of them. Ryu had one of them.
Yeah, and they're actually 2 turrets down though as Loop's here for Ryu. Kami's going to TP right on top. Lep's here as well. His stuns will just drain in now, and Lep's going to get himself an easy kill, and the tower should fall soon as well.
It should fall. We'll see if they actually want to go for it, but once again, they're opting into recall and going back to base because in that bottom lane, we've got to push elsewhere.
Look at Egypt going in. He wants Revolta. They are going to dive in for it. Carbon gets the knock up, but the repel is there. Egypt taking tower aggro, but Choo Choo's has found his way down. Egypt wants to take one last hit, but he can't quite commit to it. And now they're going to move back in for Choos. He's going to have to riff walk out. Left here as well. Choo Choo's actually, that might be the target. They'll kill Aurelia. So squishy with all the DPS items, but they're going to keep going. Carbon blocked up by the Cocoon. Gold card follows in, and Choo Choo's has to run.
Lep is actually just getting himself killed repeatedly. He did get one himself there to make a trade, and it was onto Carbon. The biggest issue with that entire trade was the fact they're trying to dive an Elise. An Elise that is 6-0 and has her Cinderhulk and a Sidestone ready to go. Impossible.
Yeah, and they paid the price certainly as a nice transition from the Brazilians. Does give them a few kills, a 2-for-1 trade, I believe. Picking up a couple there, but the scaling is still on. Radio is very strong. If anyone can carry them to the late game point they want to be with this comp, it will be the 5-0 Hurricanes done Kalista.
Also means they're going to be working around the power spikes then of exclusively the Kalista, and that is going to be a little bit interesting. Choo Choo's does have his Rod of Ages, so he's starting to ramp up in strength now. Rise, on the other hand, does not. So they need to pick their battles essentially around when Kalista is at a point of power, because that will be before anyone else, even assumedly from the other team here of the CBLOL side.
You can see Raider's name as well, also getting some wings on it. Huge bounties for some of the big players here on either side, Raider and Revolta, for the Oceanic and Brazilian sides respectively. Revolta now peeking around, trying to see if he can get any vision out on towards that Raptor camp. The Choo Choo scaling up, got that rower going. Ryu going back as well, might have his, does indeed. Got the tier coming up as well. Feels like this is the first point where it's like, okay, Oceania, I see what your team's trying to do. Here's your jumping off point.
Exactly right. They've got options now, and the option even involves waiting, because the Rod of Ages is still going to be stacking. It's a point of power, but it's a very efficient point of power.
Whoa.
But instead,
straight in onto Kami. He's trying to get out. No, he gets played out of the Destiny. And that's going to be a 3-man gank and a kill for Choo Choo's.
And time to perfection. A proactive play at the point of power in their items. Ryu has that teleport available. Lep does not. They're now sieging down that middle lane, and Revolt is only here by himself for the moment.
Top lane tower still up as well. Choo Choo's off to the side. Might be trying to get away. I think they are going to commit to this tower. Ryu is down here. He's walked actually as they're looking for the hook. Does not find it, but Choo's might have found Loop. He's forced to pop the ulti. Lantern's there. It will be Ryu that takes it, but no tower there for the Oceanic side.
I imagine them having a conversation about that lantern as well. Ryu saying, no, you're Kassadin, you don't need lanterns. And then just forcibly taking it from him. But OPL one more time, they make another proactive play. Some poke. They didn't get the kill they were looking for, but it does give them free reign of the dragon pint.
They do get it. Carbon going to poke out with a prey seek. Uh-oh. Lantern tether range runs out. Carbon's going to tunnel that to safety, though, as they will recall. Might have to protect the mid lane at this stage. Might lose it as the Brazilians do move up towards that area. Very low health, as you can see. So an obvious few targets here as top lane tower also falls.
Yeah, nice to see objectives starting to go down as well from this Brazilian side, getting some gold that has been standing ready for them in their favor. The biggest thing now to look at, Aurelia is probably just going to continue to split push. That item is ready to go. The Guinzu's Rageblade up and running. The Rod of Ages from the Rise is strong, but I don't know how that would actually compare to the raw damage that is going to come out of this Aurelia.
Have to think that Ryu does want to scale a bit more, so the option of waiting might be the Oceanic choice here. Like you said, Rusty, but the Brazilians just trying to get a bit more traction. Essence Reaver has been completed as well for Lucian, so BRTT starting to get stronger. But Raid is a full item ahead now. It's already got that Infinity Edge. And once again, they're going for this Rift Herald, but I don't know if the Oceanic team's here to stop them. Does not look like it.
Doesn't feel like they're going to stop. They may look for a cheeky steal, but it just takes so much damage when you hit that eye. They do get the Rift Herald for themselves, and this is a chance for the CB LoL side to do something proactive themselves. Do they want to go for that middle lane or bottom lane turret, perhaps? The jungler is the one with the Rift Herald buff.
And I have to say, I've seen a lot of this from the Brazilian team specifically. They seem very good at playing around the Rift Herald. And even on day one, I believe they said, we're not too sure how to play with it yet, but they seem to prioritize it more than the other teams at this tournament.
And it's certainly worth prioritizing over Dragon up until the 5th Dragon or late game, where the first one is worth something for you in terms of efficiency. So one Dragon and getting the Rift Heralds before the Baron is up is definitely more efficient. So it's good to see the Brazilian side adapting that quickly into how important it actually feels. And with 1 minute and 40 seconds until the actual Baron is up, a very good time for them to get it.
Certainly was a nice little take, and it has been impressive to see how they've played on this patch in particular. Ryu, though, down the bottom side now, starting to split push a little bit. Does have his teleport ready, level 11. Not quite there, he needs a full level pretty much to get there, but he's also getting stronger. And it really is Raider, he is crazy strong right now in any sort of fight.
Yeah, that is very, very strong, and it's something that has to be focused by this Brazilian side. Infinity Edge, man. The fact he has it at 18 minutes with his other items, finished boots. They can win a fight. The question is, do they want to win a fight right now? Do they want to let the Rod of Ages stack? I mean, is the question, do they want more than one carry?
Of course, and it could be dangerous. And, you know, BRTT has items. Aurelia certainly has some now as well, building towards that Trinity Force after Sheen into Ginsu's Revolta. Here, lands a Cocoon Ejim. Looks to be in trouble. Never mind, Kalista. Kami, though, might actually be in radiant trouble. Oh, the last card, not enough. And a teleport from Ryu just to make sure, as I think that's Carbon, yep, caught out on the bottom side. Lep gonna find him, that's gonna force the Flash Revolta here. Flash Cocoon stun there for the gold card, and that's gonna be the jungler going down.
All things considered, one kill out of a situation like that should not have been only one kill. A very, very good use of synergy between the Thresh and the Kalista to get both of them out to safety, only by the skin of their teeth, but they do get out.
Well, the gold was even as well, but that tower is going to give the Brazilians the gold lead. Once again, 1,000 gold up now in this particular game, but we're almost 20 minutes into this one. We have seen some snowbally 5.22 games, especially when the Brazilian early game's been involved, but Oceania not only had a lead, but held strong through a tough time with the scaling comp. The storyline's there, Rusty. You can see how they can do it. It's just a question of, can they?
So they definitely have a scaling comp, but it's not to ride off the other side at all. Lep, one more time.
Yep, kind of in the bottom lane, a little too far. Does Blade Surge away, but eats a hook, actually. And that's going to be Raiders' 6th kill of the game.
This seems to be the recurring issue of this Brazilian side, is they hit mid-game, and they always have a fantastic early game. But once they're ahead, even in the mid-game, even early game in this one, because it was that early when Revolta was huge, they just seem to flounder or not know exactly how to execute, or even the most efficient thing to execute on. And that's when they make the mistakes. Every side that they've played against comes back to an extent. We saw it with LATAM.
And there's the, yeah, we did. And there's the topsy-turvy gold lead as OPL do reclaim it, but I agree with you. It's not like there's nothing here late game for the Brazilians. We have seen them play good team fights. They had a 50-minute game, I believe, to kick off the International Wildcard All-Stars. So not out of the realm of possibility. It's just funny to see both these teams maybe finally playing to both their strengths and weaknesses.
Well, the biggest thing that they were always looking for, the CBLOL side, was that Bard engage. it could engage from such a far range that they could follow it up with the Elise. And that was actually the most common thing we saw from them, was Bard and then followed up by other things. The Alistar, much more reliant on having the flash available to do that, doesn't just pop the ultimate and turn people golden. Does actually have to be on top of their faces to pulverize them. So a lot more difficult to execute on, you would argue, for Loop here on this side. And we'll see if they can actually do so, as they are currently pressuring the heck out of Baron.
Yeah, a bit of a Baron bait almost, as they have exclusive vision with that pink ward smack bang in the center of the pit. The Scuttler's up as well, so can get some unsweepable vision as well if they want to, but Oceanic team will move in, clear out some wards where they can. Looks like both teams actually have pretty standard trinket setups. That's just Lep with a yellow trinket for a bit of extra split pushing vision.
It's starting to feel like the vision battle is the priority one more time. The kills not as important as they were in that early game, and now the objectives such as that Baron, the second Dragon for the OPL, first for the CB LoL side, are starting to reign supreme over that of just 300 gold, and that's why it's starting to slow down.
And it could be a bit dangerous here. Both teams sort of facing off 5v5. I think Oceania are happy with a 5v5. Radiant has a QSS now as well, so he is really, really good at navigating his fights. Might just try and take this out though. Culling does get used. Will clear out one wave, but that tier 2 tower in the mid lane is not particularly healthy looking.
Definitely not. The Dragon's available, but the OPL side, they're now working their way towards the Baron. And the first thing to look for about this is always going to be the vision. They have a lot of vision, not to say that it's necessarily in an offensive position, whereas the Brazilian side, they barely have any vision, even in a neutral area. They're being controlled. And it's on them now. The onus is on this Brazilian side to actually push in and start to present some aggression.
That's all good. I was going to say, funny you mentioned vision, because that pink ward that got freshly placed did not see the ward on the very edge of that brush. So we'll get cleaned out there by Loop. Dragon is back alive as well. You can see some blue pings actually moving down there as well. They'll clear out the vision that was here. Left continuing to apply pressure. Ryu will clean it out with his ultimate nice and easily, but Brazil are going to pick up Dragon #1 for themselves.
Yeah, Brazil going for that Dragon and immediately pinging the Baron. They don't have any control of the area, so that was actually a very big gamble for them to commit to that objective. The thing that actually interests me the most right now is the fact that Revolta is only 700 gold ahead of his opponent in the jungle Carbon. And if you compare that to the AD carries, that lead is just obnoxiously large. Radier is monstrous, and this is actually a very scary thing for the Brazilian side that they have needed to respect for quite some time. And it's something that we've built on earlier, is that you can be a tanky jungler, take all of the kills, and I will say very greedily take all the kills in this case, and start to drop off. Radier's not going to drop off. We're going to see him stay massive, and that lead has continued to grow. Revolta's has dropped off.
It has, and you can see just how tentative the Brazilians are to fight, and OPL really want to fight.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Given that the fact that they know they have scaling and that Radier is so strong, he's almost at a third item now with that QSS also completed. Might be the Scimitar coming out as well. Pretty efficient option now as a kind of defensive lifesteal-esque item also. But you can see Baron might be the name of the game. Dragon's down for about 4 minutes more, and right now it's just those scaling still. Those two mages in the top and mid lanes. BRTT is very far forward here.
BRTT, yeah, definitely a little bit out of position. Ejim's creeping his way in now. I don't know if they'll commit though, as the vision is there to prevent him and give time to back off for BRTT. Cavalry arrived.
Yep, gonna cleanse off that blue ward, or smack it, I should say. Grumple reset there. Gets a bit impatient, runs back to his house. As Ryu,
that's
just waiting in the bottom lane.
A very interesting Aurelia build.
Yes. That was not the Trinity Force I was expecting. That is in fact an Iceborne Gauntlet.
I can't give you an actual reason. Like, I understand why you would want to go for it. It gives a bit of extra armor. But there we go.
Kami's here though. That might be enough. Good flash from Ryu. And Carbon's actually down here as well. 2v2. They fancy it. Lep's going to get knocked up here. Does get the stun off Kami with the gold cut. Oh, snare on the end's going to force the flash from Aurelia. And it looks like Cassidy's streaming down here as well. Kami needs some cards. Flash, Rift Walk, looks for the slow. Finds Kami. They want Lep. They'll get him in the top side. Ryu gets the first kill. Choo-Choo's. Oh, just misses the second. Ignite's good. Prayseek is not quite there. And Choose does claim it.
And one more time, this comes down to the vision that the OPL team have got in place. There is nothing from Brazil in that area. And they have no right being that aggressive and trying to make picks with a Twisted Fate ultimate. They pay for it, and there's no way that the Brazilian side without Kami and Lep can commit to that Baron.
So what can Oceania get, I suppose? They've been getting the kills, they've got the vision up, but no Baron yet. They've had a little bit of trouble knocking down some of the tier 2 turrets, despite being upper turret overall in the game. You can see they're starting to scale, they're getting stronger, they want to force fights, and the Brazilians who do not want to force head-on are trying to force these skirmishes that they're also losing.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go for an Iceborne Gauntlet and try and head on a Rise, also a little bit of a mistake as well, because it gives you armor, whereas the Trinity Force would actually give you effective combat stats against that Rise. A little bit stickier as well to try and keep him down with the Phage and the Zeal. Sure, it has a slow on the Iceborne Gauntlet, but that doesn't really compare. You can see the items that he's going for, though, are very, very tank-oriented. He's looking for a Guinzu's Rageblade, 1-item damage carry.
Well, probably going to start sticking with his team a bit more as BRTT might have to burn the ulti once again to try and save this turret. It's actually too late already. The Oceanic team will move in and claim their 5th turret of the game. That gold lead's starting to stretch a little bit more. 2,500 gold up so far, continuing to monopolize vision on this left-hand side of the map, right towards that Baron area.
Definitely are. This is a game, honestly, if you think back to the early game, that the OPL side really had no right being in. They got absolutely destroyed, yet they pull it back so effectively. The bottom lane you have to give so much credit to is staying in this, and they're keeping the entire team in it right now. Radair, the exact carry that we expected from him in those first 3 games that they did go down in, is now showing up.
And that's the thing. That was, I think, the biggest criticism over the last few days of Team Oceania has just been decision-making. They've made some good plays. They've shown some of their skill. Yes, they've also got outclassed in some lanes as well. So they're not, you know, top of the heap, certainly, like we might expect, honestly, the Brazilian team to be coming in. But they've made really questionable decisions all tournament long, and this game they've somehow managed to make very, very clean calls. So whatever they've cleaned up in comps, whoever's now making all the calls, it's certainly working this time.
I feel like it comes down to drafting one more time. They are past comfortable at the moment. They're actually, God, here we go.
Knocked up. That's a very ambitious target. He's quite tanky, but it's 3v2. Choo-Choo's going to slow them away, and Carbon walks off with plenty of health to spare.
Yeah, very tanky Carbon, thankfully, does manage to get away. Ryu, at the moment, is starting to become a monster. I believe to the point where Lep actually cannot really consider fighting him because he will either get out-traded or die.
And that's the scary thing. Whenever you're against the Rise, we've got the Seraph's completed, with the transform. Rod of Ages fully stacked up. I love the Distortion Enchanted Mercury Treads as well.
Yeah.
And from this point, Ryu is only going to get stronger, depending on where he wants to go with his itemization. And the same can be said for Choo-Choo's. Rod of Ages fully stacked, Abyssal done, cooldown boots ready and enchanted, and a need to see Large Rod for probably Zhonya's at this point.
Yes.
If Radier was the scary one coming in with all those kills, the other 2 carries are also starting to get stronger.
That's the beautiful part. It brings it all back to the beginning of how the hell this all happened to begin with. The fact that they had a fed bot lane, they got to their Rod of Ages power points, and because Radair was fed in that bottom lane, they could just farm. They could let it scale and become monsters in more than one lane. The question was always going to be, how many carries do you want to have before you commit to a team fight? Well, they evidently want 3.
Yes. Certainly seems to be the way in again. Comes back to clean decision-making here in this game. The Brazilians have been playing quite well. Revolta had a fantastic early game. Still immortal here in this one with 0 deaths in the column and a big price on his head if they can claim him. But a Dragon is back up. Carbon's going to pretty much take this by himself. And again, just patience here for Team Oceania. They've still got a lead and they're probably confident in their late game ability. Feels like classic legacy shot calling there from Carbon and Egypt. But Baron is also a threat. They have to be careful.
Now, Carbon can take this Dragon, then recall, use the ultimate to get back with full health. So there's always going to be that ever-present threat there from this Rek'Sai. A commit was there from the Brazilian side, but they didn't go all in. The second pressure was presented back at them from the OPL team. Now, they're at a point of power. The gold lead isn't worth noting when the difference is 2k at the 50k mark. But the pressure that it feels like this Oceanic side can exert on the Brazilian side just seems unrivaled.
Yep, certainly can't wait too long. I think might be the other thing.
Oh,
Ryu going to start pressuring down on the bottom side. The Brazilians are building up their items as well, and I don't know if any team wants to gamble on a big late game 5v5 team fight, but the objectives are there. Baron is a consideration. 2 Dragons to 1 now for Team Oceania, and perhaps a 3rd item now for Choo-Choo's, with more coming online for Ryu as well. The time to strike is going to be very soon. Radier has 4 damage items in a QSS.
I would say the time to strike is now. The Zhonya's Hourglass was just completed on Choo-Choo's, so that's the big point to go. They've got the QSS. That's all he really needs to be alive. He's got Thresh to keep him there. We've seen how effective those 2 are when they work together. This is the Chiefs bot lane, just in an all-star team. So they could pressure the Baron now. They've got Ryu here. He's always going to be a monster. He's even stacked magic resistance to prevent Kami from doing damage or split pushing against him.
Really smart stuff there, and now the Baron trigger is going to get pulled. Oceania are going to give a very difficult choice here. As Revolta actually may be caught. Carbon wants it. They're going for the kill. Flashes in for it. Loop now out here as well. They're trying to chase BRTT. Ryu face tanks the culling and eats a boatload of damage. Lantern out for Choose. That's bad news. Loop's going to move back in. Kami here as well. Egypt flashes. Misses the hook. Ryu's now dead, and Choo goes into the backline and gets exhausted. BRTT though goes down, and Kami can just sit and watch as his team gets evaporated. Loop, he'll be the final kill. 3-1 Oceania.
They had no reason to fight that, this Brazilian side. That was actually good of them to engage because they had Choo-Choo's take the Lantern, which made absolutely no sense. They're going to be able to get a free team fight off the back of that, which I'll no doubt see in the replay. They get a Baron for free off a team fight that was just executed so poorly. The only response is the split push.
I like what Kami did. The Baron does go over to Team Oceania, but he has to take it. But let's see this again.
So they try and engage on Revolta. They look for BRTT at the side, and the culling is fantastic. It actually pushes them back. This is the Lantern where Brazil says, you know what, we can fight. For some reason, Kassadin took it. Ryu gets decimated, but it's through his Archangels, and Choo-Choo's just comes in with Radar and destroys the entire area. All they did was clump up. They've stacked magic resistance against Kami, so he's not doing damage. All they had to do was kill BRTT and let Built tank.
And that's exactly what they did. Choo-Choo's jumped on him there with the Assassin Kassadin. And OPL win a very convincing team fight, starting to get a little bit closer to victory here. Baron buff going to help out, but gold lead not really there, about 4K at this point. But it's more moments like those that the Oceanic team needs.
7-0 Kalista, but most importantly, the Kassadin is on board for kills. He was already big and is now starting to snowball out of control. The Baron's theirs. One more time, just look at the vision on the map. How more red can it actually be before this game ends?
I mean, yeah, bunch of wards, 3 blue trinkets. We've got Rek'Sai tunnels as well, pink wards. Yeah, fairly lit up here for the Oceanic side. They're going to start to push themselves down this top. Choo-Choo's in the meantime, right there in the middle lane, knocking on the door of that Nexus inhibitor turret, sorry.
Yeah, I like what they've done here by putting Choo-Choo's there. He does so much damage with that ability power to all of the turrets. Carbon sitting in the dead middle, just being a threat. He can go to either lane if one person rotates, and now that they've actually got damage onto that turret, they've brought everyone to top, and they're... Whoa.
Yep, get an ulti out of Loop. That's all that hook needs to do. Loop's going to try and go in, but they're just going to back off from it. They got a free cooldown. Just, hey, play it safe. Choo just comes over, and now they can go back to the siege.
They did get the ultimate out of Alistar. They are actually losing now, though, on the QSS from Radar being down. So if Twisted Fate goes in, doesn't have the flash, thankfully, that's the saving grace. But if a stun connects onto Kalista, probably going to go down.
And that's bad news. Radiant, it's a huge carry here in this game. They are going to try for it. Loop, huge knock-up. PSAT off to the side, gets chopped down. Choo-Choo's takes him out as Radiant goes legendary. Kami crushed there as they keep going. And Choo-Choo's doing so much damage. Triple kill there in the end, as that's a clean ace.
And Egypt, just by the skin of his teeth, stays alive as they do a 5-for-0 trade. This OPL team should be able to even end the game from this one push. And that came out of a situation they should not have won.
So a pretty rare smile from Rio on the player cam as well. And the fans will be smiling here around Melbourne as well, because this is going to be Team Oceania doing what they did last wildcard, upset the Brazilians fight in very emphatic fashion. That's going to be the Nexus falling as Team OCE, you can see them on your screen, finally win a game.
So well played from these guys, bringing it back from what you have to say was the jaws of defeat. They turned that around so well, and a very impressive performance from these guys gives themselves that first victory. I can't blame them for hugging it out. Fantastic work.
And this is what we expected from them, honestly. Really an all-star lineup as far as Oceanic talent goes, and players that have played together before. There's plenty of synergy here, and we just didn't see it for 3 games